Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Progressive Rock and Metal album review series. And today I am going to be taking a look at the very long and impressive catalogue from one of my favourite bands of all time in the progressive rock genre. And in my opinion, these guys are one of the most criminally underrated bands out there, and they came out of the whole Neo Prog movement back in the late 80s to the mid 90s, and they're not what you would call a very well-known band, especially compared to other bands that came out at that time like Marillion, Spock's Beard, The Flower Kings and Arena, to name a few. But in my opinion, I think these guys are absolutely incredible. Individually, they are super talented, but collectively together as a band, they just rock. And I got to see this band once in 2015, and they just put on an unbelievable show. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. This is a band that doesn't mess around. They are the real deal, and they've put out some unbelievable music, and they need no introduction whatsoever. I am talking about, of course, the one and only Enchant. So, Enchant was formed in 1989, and they were originally known as Mae Dae, and that name would later become one of Enchant's most important tracks in their entire catalogue. And the best way I can describe and categorise their music is they have very ambitious lyrics, very catchy melodies and quirky harmonies mixed in with harmonic experimentation. And when you hear Enchant, you know straight away who it is because they have a very distinct sound. And Enchant have had a number of different lineup changes, but the current lineup is comprised of Ted Leonard on vocals, Doug Ott on guitars, Ed Platt on bass, Sean Flanegan on drums, and Bill Jenkins on keyboards. And their sound is very laid back. A lot of that is due to Bill Jenkins' very glossy and sheen keyboard playing, Doug Ott's soaring guitar work, and Ted Leonard's quirky vocals, which collectively make up the sound of Enchant. And what more can you say, really? Enchant is an amazing band, and in my opinion, one of the best out there, and criminally underrated. So, for today's edition, I am going to be taking a look at Enchant's entire catalogue, which is comprised of 9 albums, 8 studio albums, and 1 double live album. And what more can you say, really? A very strong catalogue, no clunkers here. Obviously, some albums are better than others, but I think at the same time, there's a lot to appreciate about this band. And they're very heavily influenced by Rush, and in a way, you can kind of look at Enchant as kind of like an expanded Rush, really. Like, imagine if Rush had 2 more guys in the band and they became a 5-piece. And the best way I can describe their music is very similar to Hold Your Fire, Power Windows era, like 1985 to 1987. You know, lots of catchy keyboard playing and vocals and that sort of thing. So they do sound very similar to Rush, especially in their earlier albums. And then later on, they adopted more of a progressive metal kind of sounding compared to their earlier albums. So, as always, I'm going to be talking about each album individually, and I'll be choosing which one I think is the best one. Not an easy task, especially with a catalogue as strong as Enchant. So, this is the box set that collects up all of Enchant's studio albums. This is called A Dream Imagined, and this consists of 8 studio recordings and 2 bonus discs. So this should be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to taking a look at Enchant's catalogue of albums. So we are going to start with the first album, and this came out in 1993, and this is called A Blueprint of the World. So this lineup, which is featured on the first album, as I said, you know, I've had a couple of lineup changes. So for Blueprint of the World, it features Doug Ott on guitars, Paul Kadrick on drums, Michael Gimmer on keyboards, Ted Leonard on vocals, and Ed Platt on bass. Very, very good album this is. Blueprints of the World. Very, very good. So, tracks here we've got is the first great opener, Catharsis, another great track, especially that middle instrumental section, which sounds very much like Rush, like The Mission from like Hold Your Fire. Oasis, Acquaintance, Mae Dae, which is a great rocking instrumental, sounds even better live, and which goes straight into At Death's Door, brilliant track. East of Eden, Nighttime Sky, Enchanted, and Open Eyes. Really, really good, strong album this is. A blueprint of the world. And this was produced by Steve Rothery of Marillion, so he done a top-notch job with the production. So let's have a look here. So what we got here for Blueprint of the World is we got all of the lyrics. And there's some more lyrics here. Nice picture of the band from the early days of the first album. And some more lyrics. And some more lyrics. And of course we got the credits as well. So standout tracks for me are the first, Catharsis, Mae Dae, At Death's Door, and Open Eyes. A really good, strong debut album by Enchant, and one of my all-time favourites from this catalogue. So there you have it, a blueprint of the world. Very good, strong opening album. So we move on to the next album, and this came out in 1996, and this is called Wounded. So Wounded by this point, so we're just going to have a look here. So Wounded here still features near enough the same lineup here. So we've got here for this band, we've got here Paul Cadrick on drums, Ed Platt on bass, Ted Leonard on vocals, Doug Ott on guitars, and Mike Gimmer on keyboards. So pretty much still the same lineup here. So this is Wounded. Great follow-up to A Blueprint of the World. Really good, and again very much in that sort of 80s style of Rush, but at the same time it's really, really good. So tracks we got here are Below Zero, Fade to Grey, Pure, Broken, Hostile World, Look Away, Armour, Distractions, and Missing. So a really, really good, strong album here. So let's have a look here for Wounded. So we got here, just like earlier, we got the lyrics here, and we got some more lyrics here, and some more lyrics here, and a cool shot of the band in the early days. So most of the songs are written and composed by Enchant. The lyrics are mostly composed and written by Doug Ott or Ted Leonard, so it's more of a joint effort, but it's very much a band effort, I would say. So the standout tracks for me on Wounded are Below Zero, Pure, Broken, Hostile World, Distractions, and Missing, but highly enjoyable and a great follow-up to A Blueprint of the World. So there you have it, Wounded. Excellent album. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 1997, and this is Time Lost. So just like the two previous albums, this is still very much in the style and sound of the mid-80s Rush kind of sounding, kind of music. But now at this point, you know, Enchant are starting to get a little bit more on the heavier side, but still very heavily influenced by Rush, and it's a great album. What more can you say, really? As I said before, Enchant have never done a bad album. No clunkers in this catalogue whatsoever. So we're just going to have a little quick look here. So, just like before, here is the lyrics. and another great shot of the band in the 90s. There's some more lyrics and some credits as well. So same lineup as the first two albums. Ted Leonard on vocals, Doug Ott on guitar, Ed Platt on bass, Mike Gimmer on keyboards, and Paul Kadrick on drums. And Time Is Lost is great. It's a really good album. So we got Blindsided, New Moon, Under the Sun, Foundations, Interact, Standing Ground, and Metal Man. It's a really good, solid album here. And you can definitely hear the band starting to grow more and more with each album. So standout tracks for me are Blindsided, Under the Sun, Foundations, Interact, and Standing Ground. Good, solid album. Highly enjoyable. Really, really good. So we move on to the next album, and this came out in 1988, and this is Break. So Break, pretty much still continuing on the style of the last three albums, still the same band as well, but this time Ed Platt is gone, so we got a number of different guest bass players. Bad Madsen and Tony Marino, and also Doug Ott is playing bass as well. But it's still very much the same lineup. Ted Leonard on vocals, Doug Ott on guitars, also playing bass as well. Mike Gimmer on keyboards, and Paul Kadrick on drums. And even Ted Leonard is featured playing bass on one track as well. So great follow-up to the first three albums. Still very much in the style and sound of mid-80s Rush, but now they're starting to get a bit more heavier now and starting to get more towards the progressive metal kind of style of music. So let's just have a quick look. So there's the lyrics. Some more lyrics, and some more lyrics there as well, and some more lyrics, more lyrics as well, and a very spooky shot of the band. So tracks we got here are Break, King, My Enemy, Defenseless, The Lizard, Surrounded, Silence, In the Dark, My Gavel Hand, and The Cross. Great follow-up to the first three albums, and now we're starting to get more, as I said, more towards the heavier progressive metal side of music. So standout tracks for me are Break, My Enemy, Defenseless, The Lizard, In the Dark, and The Cross. Really good, solid album. And this is a band that, even though they've lost one band member, they still continue to keep getting better and better. So there you have it, Break. Good album here. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2000, and this is called Juggling 9 or Dropping 10. Interesting title, I must say. Very different. So again, the band head into the 2000s now. They're slowly starting to move away from the Rush influence style of sounding, and as I said before, they start to develop more of a harder progressive metal kind of sound to their music, and this is a really good album. Still can hear some of the Rush influences in there, but then now they're starting to slowly move away from that, and now they're starting to develop and evolve not only their sound but their overall musical identity. So we're just going to have a little quick look here. So there is the lyrics. There's some more lyrics as well. Some more lyrics there, and a nice shot of the band as well. And some more lyrics as well. And more lyrics as well. Nice spooky shot there. And there is the credits as well. So this is still pretty much the same lineup here. So Ed Platt is back in the band now, and this is a very good, strong album. So we've got Paints the Picture, Rough Draft, What to Say, Bites My Tongue, Colours Fade, Juggling Knives, Black Eyes and Broken Glass, Elise, Shell of a Man, Broken Wave, Traces, Novats. Really good album here. And this is still virtually the same lineup of Enchant. Ed Platt is now back in the band now, and really good album this is. And standout tracks for me are Paints the Picture, Rough Draft, What to Say, Colours Fade, Juggling Knives, Black Eyes and Broken Glass, Broken Wave, Traces, and a nice short opener at the end. Novat. Really good album here. And I definitely think with Enchant, especially going back to their first album, they just got better and better. The music got more harmonic, more experimentation, definitely more metal driven, more proggier. And as I said, they've got a really nice sound. They've got a very clean, sheen, glossy sound. And a lot of that is the keyboards as well. So, you know, what more can you say? Enchants are very much the whole package. So there you have it. Dropping 9 or Juggling 10. A good, solid album from Enchant, and a band that continues to keep getting better and better with every listen. So as we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2002, and this is called Blink of an Eye. So as I mentioned before, still very much in the Rush kind of influence sound, but now they're just moving more and more away from that influence, and they're developing more of a progressive metal kind of sound. So let's have a look. So by this point, Mike Gimmer is gone from the band, and Doug Ott and Ted Leonard are swapping keyboard duties before they would settle with a permanent keyboard player on the next album, which we'll get to in a moment. So let's have a look. So there is lyrics, some cool pictures here as well, some more lyrics, and some more lyrics here, some more lyrics, some more lyrics, and some very atmospheric pictures we got here, and some more lyrics here, and a shot of the band and some credits. So as I mentioned, Mike Gimmer is gone now, so Enchant is Doug Ott on guitars and keyboards, Ed Platt on bass, Sean Flanegan on drums, Ted Leonard on keyboards, and he also plays a bit of additional guitar as well. We got Phil Bennett on additional keyboards, and he provides some keyboard solos on some tracks as well. And Doug Ott plays a bit of bass on one track. So very good, strong, solid album. So tracks we got here are Under Fire, Monday, Seeds of Hate, Flatline, Follow the Sun, Ultimate Gift, My Ever After, Invisible, Despicable, and a bonus track, Prognosis. Good stuff here. So standout tracks for me are Under Fire, Seeds of Hate, Follow the Sun, Ultimate Gift, My Ever After, Despicable, and I do like the bonus track as well, Prognosis. So there you have it. Blink of an Eye. Good, strong, solid album from Enchant. And as I said, no bad album in this catalogue. So we move on to the next album, and this one came out in 2003, and this is Tug of War. So this features the first appearance of Bill Jenkins, who, in my opinion, would go on to help shape the overall sound of Enchant and pretty much make them into the band that we know today. And he has a very glossy sound that he generates from his keyboards, lots of atmospheric sounds, lots of great, gorgeous soundscapes that would pretty much go on to help define the overall sound of Enchant. So Mike Gimmer kind of started it all off back in the early days, but I think Bill Jenkins, he takes that concept to the next level, and he really shines throughout very strongly on this album, and he's been in the band now for almost 20 years now. So very talented keyboard player, and for me, all due respect to Ted Leonard and Doug Ott, he's probably the difference maker for this band, and he makes everybody here sound fantastic. So we're just going to have a quick look here. So there you would have pretty much, in my opinion, the classic lineup of Enchant. The lineup that pretty much still exists to this day. So there are some lyrics and some more lyrics and some more lyrics here. And some more lyrics here as well. And some more lyrics here. And there's the credits, and there's pretty much the classic lineup of Enchant. Lineup that pretty much still exists to this day. So we've got here Sinking Sand, which sounds very similar to Rush's Xanadu. The title track, Tug of War, Hold the Wind, Beautiful, Queen of the Informed, Living in a Movie, Long Way Down, See No Evil, Proctology, and Comatose. It's a really good album here. And as I said, Bill Jenkins' keyboard playing really shines throughout this album. And I think with him joining Enchant, definitely beefed up the band in a big way. Everybody sounds great, really come together as a tight unit. And after various different lineups, band members coming in and out, you know, this is pretty much the lineup they would settle with, and this is pretty much the lineup that's existed throughout most of their history to this day. So standout tracks for me are Sinking Sand, Tug of War, Queen of the Informed, Living in a Movie, and Comatose. Very good, solid album, and for me, one of their strongest, I would say. So we move on to the next one, and this is a double live album, and this is Live at Last, and that came out in 2004. So this is pretty much like a double live album retrospective of the band. They play a lot of their famous tracks from their long catalogue, and this is pretty much the solid lineup that we get for this band. And this live album, very long, but absolutely incredible. There's a DVD of this as well. Check it out. Very hard to find. Both of them are hard to find, but if you can get your hands on it, it's a really good live album here. So it's all like tracks from various albums throughout their career, but it's a really good, solid album. So I love it. It's really good. So let's have a look. There we go. There's Ted Leonard. Very talented musician. Seen him lots of times in different settings. There we are. There's Doug Ott. There's Ed Platt, great bass player. Sean Flanegan, unbelievable drummer. I love the sound he gets on his drum kit. The difference maker, Bill Jenkins there on keyboards. And there's all the tracks from both discs. There we are. Yeah. And some great shots of the band from the show. Very, very good. So on disc 1 we got Mae Dae, which leads straight into At Death's Door, Sinking Sand, Under Fire, Broken Wave, Blindsided, Acquaintance, Monday, Proctology, The First, Paint the Picture. Then on disc 2 we got Under the Sun, What to Say, My Enemy, Follow the Sun, Break, Seeds of Hate, Comatose, and 2 gorgeous acoustic versions of Black Eyes and Broken Glass and Colours Fade. And then we got Pure, Below Zero, and Oasis. It's a really good live album. This is the only one they've done so far. This was almost 20 years ago. You know, 2024. This will mark like 20 years since this live album came out. Definitely due a new one. whether or not we'll see Enchant do another live album remains to be seen. So standout tracks for me on disc 1 are Mae Dae, At Death's Door, Sinking Sand, The First, and then on disc 2, Follow the Sun, What to Say, Black Eyes and Broken Glass, Colours Fade, Below Zero, and Oasis. It's a really good live album here. And this is pretty much the first time I got exposed to Enchant, was this live album, and this was kind of like my gateway into their catalogue. And this was the only one I had for pretty much a long time before I got hold of the whole box set here. So highly recommended. This is a good place to start if you're not familiar with Enchant. This is a really good live album. So there you have it, live at last. So by this point, Enchant would pretty much go into like an 11-year hiatus. Bill Jenkins would go on to play with Sound of Contact with Simon Collins, who of course is the son of legendary drummer and singer Phil Collins. A lot of the other band members would do different things. Ted Leonard, of course, would go on to join Spock's Beard, replacing Neil Morse. And of course, he would play with Transatlantic as a touring member. And he would also form Pattern Seeking Animals as well. So Ted Leonard is very, very busy man. So we move on to the next album. And this came out in 2014. And this is one of my favourites, The Great Divide. So I went to this tour in 2015. This is Enchant's first album in 11 years. They sound better than ever. Back with a new sound, more proggier, more metal driven. Rush influences are still there, but not as potent as the earlier albums. But very, very good. Really enjoyable, and it's got some great songs on here. So let's have a quick look. So there's some lyrics. And some more lyrics. And some more lyrics. And a shot of the band. So it's pretty much same lineup now. This will be pretty much the same lineup for most of Enchant's existence. And there's some credits as well. So we've got Circles, great opener. Within an Inch, the title track, The Great Divide, which is just fantastic. The Great Divide. Love it. All Mixed Up, Transparent, Man, Life in a Shadow, Deserve to Feel, Here and Now. And we got a bonus track, which is called Prognosticator. Bit of a mouthful there, but really, really good album this is. And this is a band that has returned better than ever. Don't sound rusty. They sound as good as they have ever done. And they sound really tight. Great sound, great fresh playing from everybody. This is basically Enchant is back. And we're better than ever. And we're just doing what we do best. And that's make great music. So standout tracks for me are Circles, The Great Divide, All Mixed Up, Life in a Shadow, Deserve to Feel, and the bonus track Prognosticator. Nice. Good stuff here. So on this box set, we've pretty much got like basically like a series of instrumentals and live tracks here. So disc 1 got demo versions of At Death's Door, Open Eyes, Mae Dae, The Calling, Oasis, Dollars and Cents, Enchanted, Nighttime Sky, Acquaintance, and The First. And then on the bonus disc, on disc 2, Once a Week, Fade to Grey, which is like a demo track, Pure, an acoustic track, Under the Sun, Words is like an instrumental, Enchanted, which is like an acoustic version, Below Zero, a live track, Broken Wave, another live track, Broken Eyes and Broken Glass, a live acoustic track, Colours Fade, another live acoustic track, and another live track called Comatose. So there's some pretty good stuff here. So which Enchant album do I think is the best one? Well, as I said before, all of these albums are fantastic. No clunkers in this catalogue. this catalogue is remarkably strong. But if I had to choose one album, which not only is my all-time favourite Enchant album, but one that I consider to still be their best one, I still have to go with the debut album, A Blueprint of the World. Very heavily Rush influenced, but that's not a bad thing. Lots of great songs, lots of great atmospheric keyboard playing from Mike Gimmer, and lots of beautiful soundscapes he creates. Doug Ott's soaring guitar work and Ted Leonard's quirky vocals. It's all here. It's a great album from Enchant, and I still say to this day, this is their best one ever. And if I was to recommend any Enchant album, I recommend the whole catalogue, but this is definitely one to start with. I do love Live at Last. That's a great live album, but I still go back to this one just a little bit more. It's got lots of my favourite songs on here. So there you have it. Enchant, A Blueprint of the World, one that I still listen to this very day, and one that I consider to be their best one. So currently, as I said, Enchant have been on a hiatus. They haven't made an album in 9 years now since The Great Divide. Ted Leonard is very busy playing with pattern-seeking animals, and he's doing a variety of different projects. He's just come off touring with Transatlantic, so who knows what he's going to do next. The others, they're kind of all doing their own thing. Bill Jenkins, he's playing with lots of different people, so who knows, maybe we might see Enchant get back together and make some more great music. We'll just have to see, really, but I really hope they do come back, because, as I said, they're one of the great bands out there, and criminally underrated, I would say. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What's your favourite Enchant album? Is it A Blueprint of the World, Wounded, Time Lost, Break, Dropping 9 or Juggling 10, Tug of War, The Great Divide, A Blink of an Eye, Live at Last? There's no right or wrong answer. We all have our favourite albums. You know what to do. Click the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Progressive Rock and Metal album review series. So until then, take care everybody, and stay safe, and once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.